Welcome back to the deep dive. Okay, think about this. You've got a goal, right? Maybe a big project or a difficult chat you need to have, maybe a fitness thing, but you keep putting it off. You know you should do it, but just as you get close, there's that low-grade dread that creeps in, and suddenly you're, I don't know, deep cleaning the fridge instead. We've all been there. So today, we took a deep dive into sources exploring a specific psychological strategy, one designed to pretty much dismantle that anxiety and discomfort. We were looking for maybe a shortcut out of just feeling stuck, because here's the core truth our sources kept pointing to. People stay stuck because they run from discomfort, always looking for the path of least resistance.
Right, but that path of least resistance, it's often the path to, well, long-term misery, isn't it? That feeling of dread, that resistance, it's a start sign for most people. But what if we could flip it?
Yeah.
What if that feeling of discomfort actually became your edge, your biggest advantage? Today, we're unpacking a technique. It's simple, but pretty profound, called the reversal of desire. And its mission isn't really to get rid of fear. It's to completely change your relationship with it, turning that fear, that avoidance, into deliberate, meaningful action, the kind that actually guarantees growth.
I really like that framing. It makes it sound less like heavy therapy and more like a targeted mind trick. We're essentially changing the signal from danger, stop, to something more like, okay, warning, growth ahead.
Precisely, yeah. And to use this trick well, we first have to get why we're so wired to avoid discomfort anyway. It's evolution, fundamentally. Our brains evolved to keep us alive. Simple mechanism. Avoid pain, avoid danger, stay safe in the comfort zone.
Which makes total sense when discomfort meant, stepping out of the cave and maybe meeting a saber-toothed cat. Real physical danger. But that same wiring, it misfires like crazy in our modern world. We're not sweating a cat attack anymore. We're stressed about the psychological pain of, say, being judged. Or we avoid the discomfort of getting feedback on a project, or the stress of starting that big side hustle.
Or just having an honest, maybe awkward conversation.
Exactly.
And that's the evolutionary trap right there. Our brain, it kind of clumps physical pain like a real injury together with emotional pain, like rejection. And because it avoids both equally, we end up building these patterns: procrastination, fear, just stagnation. The sources really hammer this home. These avoidance patterns are the single biggest block to getting where you want to go.
Okay, so if avoidance is the default setting, how do we actually override it? You're saying the key is flipping that negative feeling, that resistance, and reframing it into a positive signal, like a bell that tells us, good, this is exactly where the growth happens.
That's the core idea. And this technique, the reversal of desire, it works because it hits two critical psychological pillars that, frankly, sabotage us when we avoid things.
Okay, let's break those down. What's the first pillar? I think you mentioned something about avoidance making things worse.
Yeah, the first pillar is fear amplification. Think of anxiety like a muscle. If you avoid using it, meaning you avoid the scary thing, the muscle actually grows. It hypertrophies. Study after study shows this. The more mental space you put between yourself and what you fear, the bigger and scarier that fear gets in your head.
Ah, the classic making a mountain out of a molehill.
Exactly. But we forget we're the ones watering the molehill constantly. By leaning into the discomfort, intentionally you shrink the fear right away. You basically prove to your brain that the disaster scenario kicked up. It's mostly just bluffing.
Okay, so leaning in breaks the cycle. What's the second pillar then? You said action.
Action dissolves anxiety. That's pillar 2. See, anxiety thrives when you freeze. It needs you to be stuck. But the moment you take action, even a tiny step, you replace that static nervous energy with momentum, a sense of accomplishment.
Right, like shifting from neutral into first gear.
Precisely. And that momentum, bit by bit, it fundamentally rewires your emotional response. You stop meeting challenges with paralysis, and you start meeting them with movement, forward motion.
Okay, that makes sense theoretically. How do we actually do it? What's the practical roadmap for this reversal of desire?
All right, it's a 4-step process. Pretty straightforward once you get the hang of it. Step 1, identify the source. You got to get specific. Move past just feeling or dread. When you feel that physical shift, heart races, maybe your mouth goes dry, you suddenly need to check your phone pause. Ask yourself 2 things. What was I just thinking? And what specific thing am I actually afraid might happen here? Pinpoint the trigger thought.
Okay, identify the specific fear trigger. Got it. Step 2 sounds weird. Negative visualization. You're saying we should visualize the uncomfortable thing vividly. Like play the failure movie in our heads. Why would we do that? Isn't that just feeding the beast?
It feels counterintuitive, I know. but it's a powerful step drawn partly from things like Stoic philosophy. You visualize the worst outcome, the maximum calamity. The benefit is kind of twofold. First, you often realize that even the worst-case customer complains. Someone looks at you funny. It's survivable. It's not the lion attack your brain thinks it is.
Okay, so it puts the fear in perspective.
Right. And second, by playing that failure movie before it happens, you kind of inoculate yourself. You've mentally rehearsed the sting, which lessens its power if something actually does go wrong, takes the shock value away.
The thing's the surprise. Okay.
Yeah.
So we've faced the fear mentally, survived it. Now what? Need to shift gears, right?
Exactly. That leads to step 3, positive affirmation. And this needs to be strong. Say it out loud or really forcefully in your mind. This affirmation is the direct counterstatement to the fear loop you just ran. You've acknowledged the risk. Now you state your intention. Things like, bring it on, or I want this feeling, or this nervous energy just means I'm growing. You actively take back control of the narrative right here.
I like that. Bring it on. Okay, and the final step.
Step 4, visualize success and take action. Right after that strong affirmation, you briefly visualize yourself pushing through the discomfort and succeeding. Gives your brain a target. Then, and this is crucial, you open your eyes and immediately take one small step, just one, toward the discomfort, not away. Movement is key.
Okay, let's walk through this with those examples. Sarah, the freelance writer, big procrastinator, hates the blank page.
Right, so her step 1, identification. She notices that resistance, that urge to clean, hits the second she thinks about opening that Word doc. Her specific fear isn't just writing, it's the thought. The client will hate this, they'll demand a refund, they'll look like a total fraud.
Okay, so she does step 2, negative visualization. Sits down, maybe for just 60 seconds, and really imagines getting that angry email, the awkward call, feeling like a failure, lets herself feel it.
Yeah, feels crummy but survivable. Then, step 3, the affirmation. She shifts posture, maybe takes a breath and says out loud, bring it on, I want this initial awkwardness. It means I'm about to make progress.
See how she reframes the resistance? It's now a good sign.
And the result? Step 4.
Step 4. She quickly visualizes finishing, feeling relieved, then immediately takes the smallest possible action, opens the doc, writes one sentence, just one. And what she finds and what happens over time is that barrier to starting crumbles. The dread was a false alarm, mostly. She's retraining her brain.
That's powerful for tasks. What about people? Tony, the guy with social anxiety, avoiding networking events.
Same process applies. Tony's step 1, identify the specific fear. It's not just nervousness. It's, I'll have nothing to say, there'll be awkward silences, I'll look stupid, people will judge me and walk away. That's his perceived lion attack. So he does the negative visualization, step 2. Before the event, maybe in the car, he vividly imagines those awkward pauses, fumbling his words, feeling sweaty, confronts it head-on mentally.
Exactly. Gets it out of the way. Then step 3, the affirmation. He feels the nerves, leans into them and says, okay, I got this. I can handle this. This nervous energy, it's just proof I'm stepping up, leaving my comfort zone. I want this growth. He gives the fear a positive job.
Right, repurposes the feeling.
Yeah. So step 4, action. He gets to the event, takes a breath, and deliberately walks up to someone new. He's expecting to feel nervous, but because he mentally faced it down.
It's not as bad as he imagined.
Often, yeah. It's less intense. The conversation might still be a little awkward, maybe not, but it's manageable. He survives. He leaves feeling like, okay, I did it. That builds a little bit of confidence for next time. The fear loses its grip, slowly but surely.
It's fascinating why this actually works deep down. You mentioned neuroplasticity. It sounds like we're literally rewiring our brains. What are the mechanisms?
There are 3 core mechanisms at play here, really leveraging neuroplasticity. First one is cognitive reappraisal. This is the heavy lifting, psychologically speaking. The technique forces you to change the story you tell yourself about the feeling. Instead of interpreting that tension, that heart flutter, as, oh no, I'm failing, danger, you reappraise it. You relabel it as, I feel resistance. That means I'm pushing my boundaries. This is the feeling of stretching and succeeding.
Hang on, how is that different from just thinking positive? Like just telling yourself, I feel great when you don't.
Good question. It's different because positive thinking often tries to ignore or suppress the negative feeling. Reappraisal acknowledges the negative feeling, the tension, the nerves, but then deliberately changes its meaning. You're not saying, I feel fantastic. You're saying, okay, I feel tense, and that tension is evidence that I'm engaging with something challenging, which is exactly where growth happens. It makes the negative feeling useful, even motivating.
Okay, acknowledging and reframing the meaning. Got it. What's number 2?
Number 2 is basically exposure therapy, happening on 2 levels. First, in the visualization step, that's mental exposure. Then in the action step, that's real-world exposure. By mentally and then physically putting yourself in that situation where failure or rejection is possible and then surviving it, your brain gathers crucial data. It learns, okay, I faced the lion and I'm still here. It wasn't fatal. Repeated exposure, even small doses, gradually neutralizes that specific fear response.
Makes sense. The brain needs proof, repeated proof, that the alarm bells are ringing unnecessarily for that specific thing.
Exactly. And the third mechanism ties it all together, the positive feedback loop and dopamine. When you go through the cycle, feel discomfort, lean in using the affirmation, take action, and achieve even a tiny result, like writing that sentence or starting that conversation, your brain registers the successful execution sequence. It rewards that intentional behavior with a little hit of dopamine. That's the brain's good job, do that again, chemical.
Yeah. So it reinforces the action of leaning in.
Precisely. It starts building new neural pathways that associate facing discomfort, followed by action, with a reward. This makes you slightly more likely to do it again next time. That's neuroplasticity in action, creating a virtuous cycle of growing confidence and capability.
Okay, so for listeners thinking, right, I want to try this, what are the best ways to start? How do you make this stick long term? We've got 3 key tips from the sources.
Absolutely. First, and this is critical, start small. Please don't try this first on like asking for a massive raise or confronting your biggest phobia head on. Pick small, manageable challenges. If public speaking terrifies you, use this technique before speaking up briefly in a small meeting, not before giving a keynote. You need those small wins early on to build that reinforcement loop and prove to yourself it works.
Makes total sense. Build momentum. What's the second tip?
Second, repetition is key. Like any skill, whether it's learning piano or getting better at this, you need reps. You need at-bats. The more times you consciously notice resistance, apply the reversal of desire steps, and lean in, the less power the resistance will have over you. You're essentially training your resilience muscle. Consistent practice is what breaks that deep-seated avoidance habit.
Practice, practice, practice. Got it. And the third tip?
Third, celebrate the process, not just the outcome. This one's subtle but important. Maybe Sarah's client still didn't love the first draft. Maybe Tony did have an awkward pause. That doesn't mean the technique failed. What matters, especially at first, is that you did the thing. You noticed the fear and you deliberately stepped toward it instead of away. Take a moment to acknowledge that win. Feel pride in the act of leaning in. That internal celebration helps reinforce the behavior you want, letting your brain know that was the success, which helps release that motivating dopamine.
Focus on the behavior shift. I like that. So fundamentally, this reversal of desire, it sounds like a way to unlock ourselves, to get free from those mental chains of procrastination, of fear, whether it's a tough conversation, a huge project, or even a physical challenge. It shifts you from stuck to action.
It really is empowering. So the next time you feel that resistance kick in, that sudden urge to check email, grab a snack, do anything else, just try the sequence. Pause. Ask, what am I really avoiding here? Visualize the discomfort briefly, give yourself that strong affirmation, bring it on, or I want this feeling. And then just take one tiny step forward.
Because that's where the growth is, isn't it?
Yeah.
The sources suggest the real reward isn't just achieving the goal, it's the continuous process of becoming someone who can face discomfort. Growth doesn't come from avoiding fear. It comes from noticing it, acknowledging it, and deliberately stepping right past it. Your potential. It's waiting just on the other side of that initial wave of dread.